I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent here, but I promise it'll answer the question, which is why does the MCAT really matter to med schools? And basically, the answer is two reasons. The first is bragging rights. Yeah, the higher the better. You look better to your peers. But the second is it's a predictor of whether you're going to pass the board exams, the USMLE and the COMLEX. And so if it's too low, they don't want to accept you because you're never going to become a doctor, or you're not going to pass in the first try. And that's another thing that med schools get judged on when they get their accreditation. So turns out that the line at which the MCAT becomes a better predictor of whether you're going to pass is much lower than you might think as a pre-med, because you're thinking, oh gosh, I got to get at least a 515 to have a shot at MD schools. Well, it turns out the line for passing, like where like below this point on the MCAT, you're a much bigger risk of failing the USMLE. It's in the 490s. Now it's subject specific, but basically, once you pass a certain point, the MCAT is just about bragging rights than it is about whether you're an academic risk. GPA is sort of the same way. Once you hit a certain point, 3.5-ish, it's harder to predict differences in performance in medical school from just your undergraduate GPA. So in light of this, osteopathic schools have said, look, we're never going to win the bragging rights game. We're going to just use this data point as one way of selecting our incoming class. And now it's not to say that MD schools don't also do this, but DO schools look at your GPA and your MCAT as certain thresholds to pass, beyond which they're going to consider the rest of who you are. And so they are much more willing to take risks on less traditional candidates who can get at least a good enough score, but have tremendous additional life experience to bring or other extracurricular pursuits. So they still need their classes in aggregate to pass and to perform okay, but that's their strategy. So yes, lower stats, which is a good thing, but it's not because they're somehow taking the second-rate candidates only.